All right, we are here with the CEO of Enable at the Empower event, the 10th annual event.
It's crazy.
That's pretty nuts.
10 years. I can't believe it. Yeah, we've had a great ride so far. And honestly, this is, I think, the biggest one on record. We have like 800 overall attendees showing up, and it's a nice cross-section. Of course, we have managed service providers. We have value-added resellers. We have internal IT departments. We have CIOs, CISOs. We have a nice array of different vendors as well. So I'm stoked. The energy's been great. The messaging's been great. It's been well received, and the partner community is ripping ready to go. Yeah, 10 years and going strong.
How do you feel like the event has evolved over time?
So, you know what? It's always been partner focused. I think we do a good job, not bashing other events, but we do a good job keeping away from, selling the commercial. We're not really there to talk about our product. The idea is really to get a bunch of smart people in the room, put some agenda topics there that are challenging managed service providers or the channel more broadly, and the magic, it happens. So that's really been the formula, to be honest. I think we've tried different things and tried different trends and putting people in different cohorts and going from there. But at its core, it's always been about the partnership. It's always been about, we would always say the answer needs to be in the room and learning. And selfishly, as a leader, we bring about over 60 Enableites to the event, so we put a lot of investment in it. But it's worth the investment because we learn. I learn. I just had in this room. We were just talking to an MSP from the UK. Right before that was an MSP in New Jersey. So all over the globe, and what we learn from these folks, it's invaluable for us. We bring that and hopefully put that right back into the product and the roadmap. So,
I talked to a couple from Brazil earlier. Italy. You've definitely covered the map with this.
It's a global industry for sure.
Yeah, and I'll say I've been to 250 plus events at this point. The maturity level of this event is pretty high. I'm like surprised because a lot of times the MSP community is the $1 million or less, and the maturity level is really interesting here, or really high. And what I've noticed is like the conversations I had at like breakfast and lunch is like MSPs really valuing the pure part of it, like hearing like this MSP who's maybe $20 million in revenue. What did they do to get to that 20 million?
Yeah, sure. I mean, and it makes sense. So look, we have 25,000 MSPs, right? And so, and I mean this with love. They're all their own special snowflake, right? Yes, there's some commonality. They provide a service as a formula to what they do, but when you click into it, there's so many nuances and little bit of that snowflake fingerprinting there that makes it different. When you get them all in the room, that's when you see a lot of the patterns. By and large, we've made the conscious decision to make Empower not this 5,000 person event. We wanted to make it personal. MSPs speak to the executives, will speak to one another, but it's really by design. We're really trying to focus. We do have some OML ones, as we like to call them, operator maturity level of 1 type of thing. But by and large, the folks that are focused, they're coming in to contribute until we find that we attract a little bit more of the mature shop.
Excellent. So not going to make you do your keynote from this morning.
Yeah, sure.
But I wrote down some things that were some of the
You
themes.
were paying attention. Okay, that's good.
So resilience. That is, I guess, is that the number one theme that we're talking?
Yeah, not just resilience. And what I touched on in the keynote is when I attended RSA, great event, of course, and folks spoke about lanes of resilience, cyber resilience. Our messaging is really that complete end-to-end business resilience. And that doesn't stop just with cyber. That's before the attack. That's after the attack. Because at the end of the day, what I mentioned in the keynote, resilience isn't a product. It's really an integrated experience. That's really what it is. And that's why we believe we have an advantage, because we have the before, the during, and the after, driving that integrated experience. So I think that's part of it. And then, the other messaging that I try to deliver is like, look, your customers, nor the bad guys, are thinking about their problem in a silo. They're not, bad guys aren't worrying about, I'm going to get in through the endpoint, or I'm going to get in through, a vulnerability on a firewall. They're just trying to get in. And same on the flip side, your customers just want to make sure that they're not being impacted. They don't care about the silo. What they really care about is business interruption. So that's really the big thing, and driving that kind of business resilience story. I think it makes for a better MSP. I think it makes for a better customer relationship with the MSP. It drives higher ASPs for the MSPs, because we love our acronyms in MSP land. And so that's really what it's all about. If they can pitch a complete outcome-based story, it's a better relationship for them. It's a better relationship for us. And for the customer, that's the ultimate prize. They're going to be resilient.
I joked because I spoke with Chris earlier, Chris Groot, and I was like, and you just added DRAS to your BCDR. I'm like, all right, so another acronym.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Be careful how you spell it. But yeah. And so disaster recovery as a service is just another layer of resilience.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the things I actually really took to heart was when you focused on outcome, being outcome focused.
Sure.
Because I'm not a technical person. Sales, business development is my background, so that's a topic I talk about. I guess, can you give them maybe a little preview or review of what you said this morning?
Yeah, sure. And look, it is that business resilience story. It is that outcome based, and I honestly think what's happening right now is with the agentic world, folks are flocking to different tools. There's a lot of vendor speak. But people are focusing away from the customer outcome that they need to drive. The other thing that I mentioned in the agentic world, when you have the threat actors using machines and things are going at machine speed, so the threats are coming in at machine speed, you can't only have human speed defending the attack of machine speed. You need to fight fire with fire. And that's why you need to have AI powered or AI infused solutions. That's why you need to have AI in your stack to build that AI resilience, again, to drive that outcome that they're looking for. So it's honestly, that should be the biggest takeaway, is when you're talking to your customers, when you're talking to your employees, focus on your customer outcome, not just the speeds and feeds. I use the analogy of my Whoop, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no one wants to talk about good cholesterol and bad cholesterol. They want to talk about longevity. And that's the outcome that a person wants. Well, spin that from the business point of view. And what's the business outcome? What is that business resiliency? What is the business longevity, if you will, to keep your customers safe and keeping them out of the penalty box in a bunch of different ways?
And this is kind of the last thing I touched on from the morning, because I wanted to stand up and just yell, preach, because you talked about vendor stack fatigue. And, what's interesting from our side of our business and a channel program is what we're finding is MSPs really underestimate how much tools they're using, because it's not just the vendors in the hall. It's every application, whether it's Canva, Zoom, Adobe, you name all these different, and now all the AI tools. In fact, what we're seeing is the data is showing us that the number's increasing, even though they might be consolidating in the traditional sense of the vendor. They're adding AI applications, and so we actually have the number that it shows 96 average applications. Now again, it's not just the traditional; it's everything. But I guess
it's wild. So sure. I mean, so look, when we talk to MSPs as it relates to their IT ops in SecOps stack, we're seeing numbers that are like 30 pieces of software in the stack, and it just creates drag, right? There's this surface area. There's that swivel chair dynamic where the technicians are trying to do it. That means they need to be trained, but the data is not. It's disjointed, right? And so look, that's where we believe we preach these best-in-class offerings that are integrated to reduce the vendor stack fatigue, to also help make the drive a lot more efficiency. And so we're different than some. We don't necessarily force folks to be closed ecosystem. I won't name names, but we believe in more of an open ecosystem, applicability. That being said, if they're using best-in-class offerings, and our offerings should be standing on their own, be best-in-class for data recovery, be best-in-class for XDR, be best-in-class for UEM, and then you get the benefit of using some of these in an integrated way, your EBITDA goes up. I always tell folks, you need to standardize so that you can automate, so then you can augment. And that's the triangle, the holy triangle of the EBITDA, the EBITDA train for MSPs.
All right, so I'm going to get you out on, I call it a fun question. Okay. Whether you think they're fun or not, I don't know. But all right, you're from Boston. Boston sports, I presume?
All day.
Okay.
All day.
All right, so if you had to choose one last game, which team are you going to?
In Boston?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, you know what? I think it would have to be the Patriots. Yeah, I think Super Bowl Patriots or something like that. That would have to be. And I'm a big, so my rank probably goes Patriots, Celtics, Red Sox, Bruins.
Okay. So I assume Larry Bird.
Larry Bird. I was 10 in '86 when it was that championship run with McHale and Parrish and Bird, and so that was probably still my favorite team.
Okay. So post video, we'll have to talk about how I grew up Magic Johnson and the Lakers.
Mad respect, right? Mad respect for Showtime. Yeah, for sure.
All right. Outside of work, if we just ran into you on a random day, any particular hobby or activity that's kind of your go-to thing?
So it's evolved for sure. When the kids were younger, I was always coaching, whether it be coaching soccer or baseball or basketball. So that was that. Now the kids are a little bit older, so honestly, working out. I like to do the working out.
Yeah.
I also love just to travel, whether it be new states and get in the woods and do a hike or something like that. So try to stay busy.
All right, and the last question I'll get you out on. You guys announced on stage, and you might have already done it before this morning, but you guys are now the cybersecurity sponsor of Manchester City.
Yep, that's right.
So my question is, when are you taking me to a game?
Well, let's go. Like, we've got options, and they have games in London. They also, in Manchester.
Yeah.
And then they're also have some affiliates in New York, so we could do something stateside as well. So
if you don't ask, no.
Hey, let's do it. I got there last week. It was pretty good.
You guys see this? I have it on video. So
he's got me recorded.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
It was great.